Actor Jackie Chan carried the Olympic torch on the Great Wall of China earlier as Beijing counts down the final day before the Winter Games kickoff in the Chinese capital. The Hong Kong actor and martial arts expert carried the flame and ran with Chinese Olympic medalists on the second day of the Olympic torch relay. It comes as authorities saw an increase in the number of Olympic-related COVID cases. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach said he was confident, though, of a safe and successful Games, while Chinese President Xi Jinping said the IOC has provided valuable leadership during the COVID pandemic. And we can now cross live to Stephen Wade, the AP Sports Correspondent, who is live in Beijing. Good afternoon, Stephen. So we're just one day before the Winter Olympics kickoff in Beijing. How important is this for China's international image, and is everything ready?
Well, there's no doubt everything's ready. In 2008, everything was ready. The Tokyo Olympics 6 months ago, everything was ready. Everything is ready to go here. There's no doubt about that. The difference this time is I don't think these Olympics are quite as important for China as the 2008 Olympics were. That was a coming out for China. That was a China on the world stage. These Olympics are much smaller. We have 2,900 athletes instead of 11,000 for the Summer Games. It's a much smaller event. What hasn't changed is, despite the pandemic, despite all the problems here, the same countries will dominate. We're looking at Norway, we're looking at the United States, Canada to be the big medal winners, the Germans, the Russians team. So that's the same. It's the same, these Olympics, these Winter Olympics, as it was 4 years ago in Pyeongchang in South Korea.
And Stephen, a number of countries, including the United States and the United Kingdom, have withdrawn government officials from attending. So who's going to be at the opening ceremony, and will spectators flock to the event?
Yeah, the best known world leader will be President Putin from Russia. He is here. I looked a few minutes ago at the list of dignitaries on hand. From my accounting, there's about 25 or 30 world heads of government or heads of state will be on hand. Many of them do not represent strong Winter Olympic countries. So you have the United Arab Emirates is here, Egypt is here, countries that don't have a strong winter tradition. The U.S. is not sending any representation, nor is the U.K., nor is Australia. China has said repeatedly, it doesn't matter to them. You know, this is about the athletes. The boycott is a very small diplomatic boycott, will not affect the games very much. General Secretary of the UN, Guterres, is here. So there is a representation. In terms of fans, basically no fans, just like Tokyo 6 months ago, there will be no fans in the venues. There'll be selected people allowed to view, perhaps some VIPs, no foreign fans, of course. So it'll be just like the Tokyo Games, games operated for television. These are far games television. On TV, when you see them, they'll look just like they always look, but there will be no fans, and the cameras will not be panning to the stadium, to the venues for fans. There won't be any.
So, Stephen, how much has China's human rights record and issues over the treatment of the Uyghurs cast a shadow over these Olympics?
Yeah, there's no doubt that's been a big issue in the run-up to these games. The activists have been calling these the genocide games. They've been reporting very, very aggressively about the million Muslim Uyghurs in northwestern China who are held in camps, internment camps. China says they're education camps. Investigators who are trying to get a handle on this, they're not camps. They're not education camps. These are camps trying to re-indoctrinate people. That's been a big issue going into these games. The International Olympic Committee has tried to steer away from it. When they've been asked about it, they don't comment. They're trying to get basically through these games without the problems. The sponsors, the IOC has 13 giant sponsors who pay about $2 billion every 4 years for the rights to use the Olympic rings. They're trapped in the middle. In China, the sponsors are advertising. Coca-Cola, Visa have activated their sponsorships here. But you don't see much advertising in the West. You don't see much advertising for these big sponsors, Toyota, Visa, Coca-Cola, in the United States and Canada and Europe. So, but the focus is on China. The last people who are stuck here are the athletes. The athletes, most Olympic athletes come to one Olympics. 70% go one time. The athletes are often being asked to speak out on some of these moral issues. Most of them want to avoid it. Most of them just want to get through the Olympics, take their one shot at a medal, and go home. This is their only chance to be activated. So they're sort of stuck in this boycott issue. Not very comfortable for them. The IOC has put them in not a very good position, honestly.
And although the United States government is boycotting the games, how much money has America contributed to advertising and those television rights?
Well, here are the numbers for you. NBC, the big American broadcaster, supplies 40% of the income for the International Olympic Committee comes from NBC. Almost half of the IOC's income comes from NBC. There are 13 top Olympic sponsors: Visa, Procter & Gamble, Airbnb, Toyota, etc. They pay about $2 billion every 4-year cycle for the right to use the games. 5 of those big sponsors are American. So the United States still has a big role. The sponsorship, Coca-Cola has been an Olympic sponsor since 1928. So they've been around a long time. I think basically they've been hurt by these games and the games in Tokyo too. It was very difficult to activate advertising because there's no fans around. There was nobody there to see the advertising. The IOC, the sponsors, hang on for the long term. They're looking forward to Paris in 2024, to Milan in 2026 for the Winter Games, Los Angeles in 2028, where they'll be able to activate their sponsorship and make some money out of these games. Obviously, the Olympic brand is a very, very strong brand.
And Stephen, finally, can you tell us how many African countries are taking part and who to watch out for?
Yeah, I looked it up. There are apparently 5 countries. I'll have to read them for Eritrea, Madagascar, Nigeria, Ghana, and who have I left out? Eritrea, Madagascar, Nigeria, Ghana are the countries. They're sending about 6 athletes. 5 are apparently in alpine skiing, 1 in cross-country skiing. You know, there's very little African participation here. Obviously, Africa is not a Winter Olympic sports country. Latin America is another country that doesn't send many athletes here. You'll find very few athletes from the Global South. The most famous Global South team, I guess, is Jamaican bobsled team, which has been coming for quite a while. Jamaica still has a team. They have a 4-man bobsled team. I think a woman in what they call monobob. But obviously, there's not much African participation here, and that I don't think anybody in Africa will be looking at the games and looking for African representation.
Well, you never know. You never know. Well, thank you so much for your report from the Beijing Olympics this afternoon, Stephen.